It's been a while, hasn't it? I took a 4-day vacation and suddenly I find myself in the midst of feeling I need to play catch up. I actually took some time to play as France to see if I could pull out a World Conquest to showcase to myself that I still got it. And do you know what I found? I don't got it anymore. It might be because the recent patch 1.9 made things feel even more like a slog, but World Conquest runs are not where it's at right now. How do I know? I played Bavaria right afterwards, did a few invasions, formed Germany, and played Tall from then on. It was a heck of a lot more fun. That means that Victoria 3 is in a very weird position in my opinion. At this point in time, Tall is simply more fun than Wide right now. Why attack Qing at all when you can just get investment rights in them instead? They take the brunt of their horrid peasant population's low standard of living while your companies reap the benefits of growth. Doing something as stupid as attacking and taking too much land from Qing can actually end up as a huge detriment now. It'll drop your standard of living drastically, and with the recent penalties tacked onto unincorporated land, you'll find making use of the land irritating at best. On top of that, it will also drop your literacy, and at this point in the game, literacy is more important than it ever was. Sadly, humanitarian and anarchist agitators are still extremely rare to find even today, so you'll likely need to take a piece out of Qing or Ethiopia to get multiculturalism. Yet, I honestly believe the penalties do their job a little too well. It gets to the point where I don't want to conquer anymore. I can stack all of the infamy reduction bonuses I want, grabbing a massive tech lead over the entire world, yet heaven forbid I do something foolish like chunk a piece out of Russia, Qing, or Japan. All of a sudden my 20 standard of living went down to 8, the number of peasants has skyrocketed, radicals, though a relatively timid and weak mechanic, skyrocket too. It's not fun. It's the opposite of fun. It's a chore. In perfect honesty, it never used to be this rough, yet this is predominantly because you are capable of making use of the lands that you conquer without incorporating them entirely. Now, there are huge penalties thrown your way for not incorporating. One could make the argument that it is fully realistic and it does a wonderful job at destroying the map painting portion of the game entirely, but it does so by making it so unfun that nobody's going to want to do it now. And, as a result, we have entered into the same territory as Europa Universalis 4. You're simply better off creating vassals and force-feeding them your recent conquests so they can suffer the consequences of your expansion instead of you. To me, I think that is the crux of the problem, the lack of fun there. But that actually brings me to the actual point of this little rant. People still want me to do World Conquest runs, and I really do not want to do them. World Conquest sucks in Victoria 3 because wide gameplay and mass conquest isn't fun anymore. Any enjoyment that I once had seems to have been sapped out the moment the war is over and the consequences of my war hit me on the head with a 10 to 20 year rebuilding period. Once more, I find myself just releasing recent conquests as vassals to avoid this part of the game, which does feel a little gamey. However, World Conquest still isn't particularly difficult, nor is it a particularly risky endeavor. If you manage to get a technology lead and you've grabbed around 1,000 or more construction prior to the 1886 mark, you can pretty much guarantee an easy World Conquest run with little pushback from the AI. It's just gonna take you a really long time to do it. Yet I must remind you, in patch 1.9, World Conquest is far more punishing towards the player than it ever was. It's gotten to the point where the biggest threat you face is the time limitation of the game due to an endless slog of truces rather than any other countries actually fighting you. The cut-down wars remain a boring slog as usual, often punishing the player with repeated wars that go nowhere, some of which can take hours to complete on their own, yet they aren't actually threatening. It's not like we're facing off against the Golden Horde in Crusader Kings 2, it's just a few great powers that we've probably broken up into smaller countries trying to band together to face off against you in your infamy is just a number phase. Everything from that point on is moot anyways, so all these wars do is waste your time, forcing you into stupid, unbreakable truces while limited by diplomatic plays. This might have passed in Europa Universalis because the entire concept of that game was to be a board game, yet Victoria 3 is supposed to be much more realistic, at least that's what everybody keeps telling me whenever I complain about something. Why would a country trying to take over the world give a flying crap about truces or diplomatic plays if they stopped caring about infamy? I kinda wish there was a mechanic that was both exceptionally challenging as well as rewarding to the players who decide to go for World Conquest. As such, I wish there was a World War mechanic. When a country gets to the infamy is just a number phase, every country that is now attempting to cut down the country attempting world conquest is given a gigantic bonus, whether it's free troops, free conscripts, rubber banding technologies to catch up to the player, offensive or defensive bonuses. It has to be something that feels like the Golden Horde, something that feels insurmountable, something truly dangerous. Yet, in return for dealing with this insurmountable force, if you happen to showcase your prowess to the world that you can absolutely dominate the world's best attempt at resistance, you should be rewarded for overcoming it. Perhaps every country that is defeated in the Cutdown War is automatically annexed and incorporated with no radicals. Think of it as a world unification play. I think something like that would be far more engaging than forcing players to go through an endless slog of map painting, juggling repeated wars, cycling through those stupid unbreakable truces just to finish off puny, insignificant countries that were once great powers. And at the same time, let's face it, losing a Cutdown War is a run killer anyways. Anybody who actually loses one is probably not playing that game to the end. They're probably going to restart or reload from an earlier save to avoid it. May as well give them a game over screen to go along with it. Likewise, winning a Cutdown War should simply bypass the map painting aspect of the game. No more stupid truces to contend with, no more dealing with diplomatic maneuvers, no more radicals, no more incorporating. The reward should be allowing the player to speed up their world conquest substantially at the cost of being far, far harder to do. If you're worried about highly advanced players being able to bypass the majority of the content in-game by beelining for speedruns and world records like people did with the Horde mechanics in Europa Universalis 4, simply make it so that the World War mechanic can't be activated until a certain mid to late game technology like trench warfare is learned. You could just keep the current Cutdown Wars that we have right now in its place until trench warfare is learned. You could push it back even further and wait for a late game technology like political agitation to be researched. Just make it a worldwide event that affects everybody the moment one country or another researches the technology in question. Again, I'm not saying to make World Conquest easier. In fact, I want it to be way more difficult. I'm just saying that there shouldn't be more than 1 or 2 Cutdown Wars per game. They take too dang long. And in the current iteration of Victoria 3, the Cutdown Wars punish the player by wasting their time and not by being difficult, for zero actual reward. This is time that could have been spent playing tall and actually enjoying the game. I believe Cutdown War should be the equivalent of a proper, full-on world war. Make them dangerous, make them awe-inspiring, make the player think twice about going over 100 infamy, and make winning such a difficult endeavor feel amazing to the player. Because right now, World Conquest sucks. I hate it. I do not want to do it. Maybe it was the design intention to make it as unfun as possible to prevent it from occurring in the first place, yet all that does is cut off a style of play to favor another. We could have both, and in fact, we should have both. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my TED Talk. I hope you still enjoy playing Victoria 3 in spite of it, and always remember, Hail Hydra Cat.